Folks, welcome to Talking Crit with Bad Mike and Tenkar. Today we have as our special guest Casey Christofferson. You probably know him from his work on Friar God Games. Longer fans will remember his work from, I believe, Troll Lords.
Troll Lords, and started with Necromancer games. Yeah. This year in June will mark the July. July will mark my first time in print published in the industry.
How many years?
20 years.
20 so years. You're only 30 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's 20 years in the business.
You old man, you.
Yeah, I started writing poetry for Rappanathic for Bill Webb in 2001.
So now already you are scaring me when you're saying that you were writing Rappanathic poetry, because that is not something I expect from Rappanathic, and not something I would expect from Casey. So I got to ask. And the fact that it's published blows my mind even more.
Right.
But how did that come about? And what was Bill Webb drinking when he said, yes, this is what I'd like?
It gets better than that.
Oh, jeez.
It was actually requested of me
to do. Boy.
Yeah. Bill Webb and Clark Peterson and I met. They knew each other. They went to college together. We met at an online RPG mud that was being put on by Sword and Sorcery Studios in 2000. And we played a lot of games through 2000, late 2000. A lot of games. I mean, hours and hours, because we were all learning 3.0 D&D. It was the new D&D. We were all learning it. And it just so happens one of the things we share in common is the ability to break down games. And we were like original min-maxers, but we did it in reverse. We min-maxed the monsters and the NPCs against the players to see how fast we could TPK people. Yeah.
If you're the GM, it sucks if you're the players. But I use the GM, so I like it.
So my character, the character that I played, one of the characters that I played was a complete arrogant, pompous ass of a bard. And I just could freestyle some poetry, some lyrics and stuff. I'm kind of grew up kind of a street kid, so between heavy metal and hard hip hop music in the late 80s, early 90s, I got the fusion of all of that. So I'd throw together some lyrics where I'd make fun of other characters in the chat for stuff that they were known to do. So the banner, I'd type it up. And next thing you know, Clark and Bill are both like independently, I didn't know they were friends, independently sending me instant messages. Where did you get that? Where did you copy that from? I'm like, dude, I'm just making it up. I hang out with like, metalheads and rappers and stuff. I know people in real bands. And so they're like, that's great. And then I ended up, and I had another character that they didn't know I also played. And then that character I played with Bill all the time. And then the bard played with Clark all the time, and they both hired me independently because they didn't know I was the same guy. Yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah. Anyways, and so basically I was just bullshitting in rhyme, and Bill's like, I've got all of these areas where there's like a crazy wizard who wrote stuff on the walls, and you should write the lyrics for this. And I'm like, okay. And then they had the Tomb of Eric Tall, who's there's a Titan, and he had a cloud giant who was his servant. And it's this tomb that the cloud giant built for the Titan who died, and then he basically stands as an undead guardian over the tomb. And so it's this whole epic of Gilgamesh. Here lies Eric Tall, and so that's the stuff I wrote in it. And then I love those guys to death, and I just fling shit on them all the time because the last 2 times they've published it, they forgot to put my name back in the book. So her name's in the book.
Oh.
It's the more important name. Hey.
Yeah. This is,
for those who don't know, that's his daughter Ainsley, who is immortalized because she no longer has to pay to go to North Texas every year if she wants to go, because She came one year and almost died there.
Almost died on us.
Because
Oh, that's right.
we
Yeah.
honor her near sacrifice for that, for almost dying at North Texas.
Wait on your life for the game. I mean,
well, and she's been coming to North Con since you were like 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
And she's 18 now, so
time flies.
she's a regular of getting murdered in Matt Finch's game.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, that's not hard.
she's fed quite a few fighters to the grinder.
Oh yeah, I don't play a fighter anymore because of it.
Do you have a picture of your character that you play now, or
I don't have any pictures of my character.
you don't have Slick in there?
Oh, I have
Just basically the same but different
same
character.
thing.
Let's
That's pre.
Oh, nice.
A few
yeah.
lines messed
oh
up.
damn.
Now, for those who don't know, Casey Christofferson is a art teacher in real life, and he's also the art. You're still the art director of Frog God Games, Casey?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know if we gave that away or not yet.
No,
Yeah.
I've been really
But,
busy actually. I've been crazy busy handing out artwork. In fact, over here I keep seeing this blinking light on one of my monitors because Twan is sending me a picture that he worked.
And Casey has now. What's interesting is Casey's teaching in the Midwest, the flattest part of our United States, not in Chicago, not on the East Coast, not on the West Coast, and yet he finds some of the most incredible artists of fantasy in our generation. And I've Gracie and I have actually talked about this before because I was speculating about why so many artists come out of Wichita or the Wichita area, and we have some theories, but I just think that's so interesting because you would expect some of these big fantasy artists to be coming from these more urban metropolitan areas,
right? Everyone expects them to be Donato Giancola, who everyone knows his story, right? He sat on the front steps of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And he basically panhandled chalk drawings on the sidewalk to make enough money to go in and look at the masterworks that were inside.
Nice.
Yeah. And he's like one of the kindest, most gracious people you can possibly meet. But Boris is like that too. Boris Vallejo, everyone who meets him has said that, you expect him because he's in all of his paintings to be kind of and arrogant. And they said he and his lady walk past every single piece of art in an art show, and they have something positive to say about every artist's work as they walk by.
That's great. That's giving back. Well, who are some of the people that you've hired working for Frog God that have either produced some amazing stuff or gone on to?
What was the Seances, the new one that Frog God's got out? The Indiegogo,
yeah.
The one that's on the Indiegogo. That is Twan Pham. I taught him. He graduated about 5 years ago, and it's just. But he was pretty good back in the day, and I got him some black and white work a long time ago with Troll Lords, but he just wasn't confident about it at the time. And Artem Shakayev, he came to us originally from Russia, but then his dad took a job as a cellist at Wichita State University. And so Artem, I guess he looked me up in middle school to decide which high school he was going to go to or something, or he wanted to know.
You're poaching talent. Yeah.
Yeah. He was poaching me, and I was like, wow. And he ended up in my class 10th grade, and I had him working professionally by the end of the first semester of 10th grade.
Really?
Did Artem did the cover of Rapanathik?
No,
that's
Bjornsson.
Yeah, that's the other guy.
I never was art director when he was.
That's right.
Yeah. But Artem, he started working pro. Then he went off and got a really big computer science degree. Got a really big job with one of the social media people. And now he's working from home like a lot of people, and to kill whatever time and to help him relax, he's come back to the art. He did the cover for the Alchemy book.
That's it, yeah, the Alchemy,
and it's amazing. And then we have another unannounced project that he did a cover for, and it is Wizards of the Coast should be tearing down his door. They should literally be tearing down his door right now.
Kurt Gould is in the room. Kurt Gould
Oh.
is listening.
Oh, there you go. Hello, Kurt. Hello.
Don't say that too loud because
we don't want to poach.
I got other people. That's good.
Hey, Colin? Is Colin one of your finds? Or
Colin actually, they introduced me to Colin, but Colin and I get along really well, and it's just I use him when I have parts that he is perfect for, and his stuff. He's amazing at landscapes.
He did some good. He did the City of Brass, right? Was he City of Brass cover?
He did a lot of the Artem did the cover.
Artem did the cover,
for a while, and then Adrian. That was Adrian's kind of coming out party, and now Adrian's working for everybody, and he's killing it. He's so good. When I have to give him work now, I have to give it to him like a month and a half in advance because he's working for a lot of other people, and he's putting out just amazing stuff.
Like I get to meet Colin at a Gary Con, and I was shocked because he was the most positive artist I've ever met. Because artists are always so depressed and like really bummed out. They don't think their artwork. I mean, it's kind of like a stereotype, right? The lonely, tortured artist. And man, this guy was outgoing and smiles and just the nicest dude you've ever met. So I just thought that was hilarious because you just get used to most artists being kind of gloomy gusses.
Yeah.
There's a personal joke going on in the Christofferson household for those at home.
Yeah.
Well, Ainsley's also a budding artist, but she's not doom and gloom. She's very cheery also.
Yeah.
And Casey's not doom and gloom either.
I can go kind of dark.
He can get dark. He can get dark.
Listen, you can go dark. I can go dark. I mean, Bad Mike is the devil.
Yeah. Eric and I had a long talk about this one time where it was like, he's got his police stories and I got my school teacher stories. We both decided we shouldn't tell our stories around other people.
That bad.
Listen, they overlap. And it's one of the things that I learned with Rachel. Rachel's a social worker, and I remember coming home one day from work, and I was working the midnights, the overnights, and I come home, and I start telling her about a person that came to make a complaint in person at like 4 o'clock in the morning. And and she was telling us that she was a doctor. She's like, wait a second, what does she look like? And I told her, oh my God. She goes, I had her like 3 years ago as in my practice. I'm like, what? The overlap. It's like, all right, well, I can't tell this story anymore because now it's confidentiality that I'm going to be violating if we go any deeper into it. So,
right.
Oh, jeez. But there's an overlap.
So a couple of things. So obviously, as usual, we don't really have a show format. We're the hex crawl of podcasts. We wander everywhere. I did want to cover a couple of things in case he can jump in. First, I wanted to congratulate you, Eric, because I think you did. Yeah, because I think you did your 1,000th
not yet
podcast today. No, I'm just kidding. No. In the last 2 weeks, because you have made a commitment to do ZineQuest interviews.
Yes.
And how many did you do in the last week? How many ZineQuest?
All right. So are we going to count the last Talking Crit where we had Tom Wilson as a guest with his zine? If we
might as well. No, why not?
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This will make 8 since last Wednesday.
That's not too. That's not as many as I thought. For some reason, I thought there was more. That's a lot, though. That is a lot of interviews.
It is, but that means that Monday I had 2. I had nothing last Thursday and Friday because they had to get rescheduled. So Monday I had 2, Tuesday I had 2, today I have 2, tomorrow I have 2. Friday is currently 1, and Saturday is 3. So no, I'm going to
put you on the spot. Then, can you name everybody you did an interview with?
Yes, I can.
I'm putting you on the spot.
I got a cheat sheet.
Okay, I got the cheat sheet.
I got a cheat sheet.
Let's give them all a free plug. Might as well give them a free plug while we're here.
All right. So Tom Wilson, last Wednesday, his Gamma Zine. If you haven't been following, he's been putting this out now for a couple of years. And if you like Gamma World, it freaking rocks. Craig Campbell has the low stake sign. And some of these are just like you listen to the pitch or the summary, and if you listen to any of this that Mike and I do, I don't handle these fireside chats any differently. I actually ask a question like, "How'd you get into gaming?" And then like an hour later, we actually talk about the Kickstarter in question, because I'll be honest with you, you want to learn about these people. You don't need to learn about the project is only about them, but you should actually get invested. Zach Goins, Scrap Rats, James Carpio, Anarchy. Now that one builds off of the if you were like me growing up in the 80s with punk rockers and heavy metal and that whole scene, for me it was the Ramones was the band, going to CBGBs. If that was your background and you thought the world was going to end in a nuclear destruction, Anarchy is the game for you. It sold me on. All I can remember was like, Andy wouldn't know this. Air raid sirens and duck and cover. You didn't grow up with that. You grew up with the damn wall coming down.
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't hear any of that crap.
She came after September 11th, so.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
Yeah. You damn kids, get off my lawn.
As we've talked about, she's never lived in a time when America hasn't been at war on something.
No.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty scary too.
Well, we lived through the Cold War, and when we grew up, it was always you got inured to the fact that the world was going to end any minute because somebody was going to accidentally push the button, and then the Russians are going to push the button, or they were going to push the button. We were going to push the button. It's all going to be over. So you had this kind of weird fatal kind of outlook. All the Cold War kids, right? Because you're just like, it's gonna end. One of these old men are going to kill us all. So I don't know if it's better to have that or to have real actual wars. I really don't know which one's better. They're both miserable.
Yeah. So then Tuesday was Frank Tuffler, Lair of the Manticore, coming out. It's the only project that for third party is coming out for Tiny D6. And as somebody who put together Swords with Light, I like light systems that you don't really need to refer to the rules at the table. So in addition to putting it out for 5th edition and Savage Worlds and Swords and Wizardry, he's doing Tiny D6. So right there. Again, freaking sold me. Nathan Robert, the 13th Fleet, which is, I guess, Paranoia, Traveler, Junta, the old West End games, all wrapped into one, as you are a bunch of space captains trying to make it back and backstabbing your fellow players, which is always a fun thing to do. Then I had Lloyd Metcalf this morning. Maximum HP number 5. Yeah.
Should have had his daughter. That guy's a bum. I'm just kidding. I love Lloyd.
So
and then we got this guy named Casey something.
Casey, I don't know this guy Casey very well.
Oh, come on.
I've never given him a challenge coin. I've never actually sat down and shared drinks with Casey, let alone food. Joshua Garlick saying, remember the movie The Day After? Yes, actually, that came up in the chat I had with James Carpio.
There's about 5 of those right during the 80s. It all, the world's going to end any minute, and here it is, and it was just always really doom and gloomy. And I'm actually kind of glad that we didn't live up to the hype, and we managed to get through the Cold War without blowing up everything. So it ruins a lot of science fiction stories, though, because every other science fiction movie or story in the 70s days was about how the world was going to get blown up, and we're all going to be mutants or something was going to happen.
And it's funny because we still have these movies now where the world's going to end, but it's always the world's going to end because there's going to be the tidal wave that takes out the East Coast and the West Coast at the same time. Or temperature's going to drop 70 degrees overnight. It's like,
there's only one true. There's only one true science fiction future, and this I'm absolutely sure. Every other science fiction movie Logan's Run and Rollerball, whatever, throw them all out. There's only one that's really going to happen, and that's Terminator. And I'm serious, because AI will freaking take over the world someday. Because we are,
man.
If you look at the history of what we're doing right now, it's like following the blueprint for Terminator absolutely perfectly. We're giving machines way too much power, and they're going to sit there and they're going to wake up one day and decide that we're a disease. And they're going to cleanse zero us, and that's going to be it. And then the writers of Terminator are going to pat themselves on the back, going, "See, we knew this was going to happen."
Didn't Elon Musk say the same thing like 3 years ago?
Pretty much, yeah. AIs are getting way too powerful.
He seems like these Silicon Valley guys are completely messing with fire. They're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and it's going to burn us all.
So that
how do you stop climate change? Eradicate mankind, and there'll be no more climate change.
Dandelion Games, 100%. Idiocracy is the future predicting the movie. 100%.
Idiocracy, that movie was so far ahead of its time. The only problem with Idiocracy is, if I remember correctly, it takes place in like 2300 or something. No, it's going to take place in like 2050. It's like 20. It's in our lifetimes, man. Idiocracy. That's not that far in the future.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Because we are stupid.
Singularity, so it's the smart robots versus the dumb humans.
What? Me stupid? Nah, me no stupid. Maybe.
Hopefully we'll figure out time travel then, because we'll need it.
But here, I'm gonna throw one thing in, Mike, with all these live streams, because last Friday's live stream got canceled. I said to Rich, "Hey, why don't we do Gamers Health as a live stream? I have nothing. It's a Friday night. Got nothing else planned. Let's do it." And oh my God! The views on Facebook were.
I watched the whole thing. That's what I do Friday nights. Nothing. I watched your whole stream.
Luke Gygax commented, and we actually had a very good time. So I think we're going to move Gamers Health to Saturday nights, because most Fridays are usually Iron Rations with Joe the Lawyer, or it's Dungeons and Dragons and Discourse with. So we're probably going to move it to Saturday nights, but there's an audience for it. They were happy with it, and we were happy doing it. And listen, it's honest. Just like this. If you meet me at a convention, it's the same horrible New York accent, because I've been identified from a distance because of the way I talk now at cons. It's not just that looks like Tenkar. That sounds like Tenkar. I've heard the podcast. So. You're not going to be in for a surprise when you meet me, unless it's the 50 pounds I've dropped. But I could probably still look.
Oh dear, Mr. Braggy, yes.
That's not a brag, dude. I had to reach the congestive heart failure state.
And guess what? I worked out again. I worked out today, and I got my full membership. So just to let you know, all my fans out there, all two of you, I'm still on track. I'm working out, baby. Every week, still working out.
Yeah, man. I had to deal with the COVID weight up and down and all that.
Oh my God, mine went one way only.
Yeah. Up. Well, I started out early on using the Zach Glazer technique of the headset and the VR, and then I live in Kansas. I don't know how he does it in Arizona. He must have his air conditioning set to about 52 degrees. Because when I get that damn thing on my head and I'm playing pistol whip, which by the way, I went and destroyed every single one of his high scores after he gave me a bunch of work to do.
Good deal. Awesome.
Yeah. But I mean, sweat. Yeah, I got hot, but it's hot here in Kansas too. So, Mike knows he's 10 degrees warmer than me. 6 hours south.
We're having our first cold snap of the year, our first hard freeze of the year, our first, and it's supposed to get down to 13 degrees next week. And honestly, I can't deal with it. I cannot wait to move to the beach someday. I don't dig this shit. I don't. Not at all.
Not feeling it. Yeah.
Warm. I want to be warm the rest of my life. I don't ever want to have to be cold.
It's supposed to be 7 here tomorrow and 1.
Oh no.
Friday.
No.
Yeah.
By the way, I do have some sad news. I did have a passing this week. The bottle of Old Granddad that I've been drinking on for the past few months, gone. So
that's unfortunate that you showed me that bottle of Granddad.
So this is it. The last of it's right in here. So after this,
Granddad,
so what do you wrote? Were you working on one of your alcoholless beers there, Eric?
No.
Or?
I had a hopped water before, which is not a hop tea, but it's a hop tea because the company making the same type of stuff wasn't bad. No, this is a Miller Lite with a dash lime, and actually, it tastes not bad with a dash of lime. I'm pleasantly surprised. So low carb, and you limit yourself not to 2 glasses, but to 2 cans because this is my big.
Right.
What we'll have Mike do for you in Texas is get you some Shiner Light Blonde because it's 99 calories. And
I love Shiner, man.
Shiner Blonde's pretty good too.
Yeah, the Light Blonde is good.
Yeah,
and,
it's good.
It's got a lot of flavor for what you're getting. Ow! Oh, speaking of kitties, I got this.
Did your cat bite you? Oh, okay.
No, you've met Frisky.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, kitty cat.
They wanted to climb up.
He just wants love and also to say hello.
So do we need to talk Casey Zine or Zine here?
Yeah, I think we do.
Let's do it while we look at your cat's ass. Let's.
You supposed to be my cat's ass for walking across the thing.
I don't know how to post anything in the chat or any of that kind of deal, but what Ainsley and I and Kathy came up with, we spent a lot of time quarantined together. We played a lot of D&D on Discord with people from here and far. So, and we have 3 cats, and they're constantly destroying everything and each other. So, Catpocalypse Meow, we came up with a bunch of swords and wizardry material that's all based on cats, and it's crazy. I mean, it's like one of those things I knew if I pitched it, Bill would go, huh? And Matt and Zach would go, no.
Yeah, Matt and Zach would be the big thumbs down. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, I knew that. And plus, my young lady here is getting ready to enter Wichita State University in August as a sophomore, starting as a sophomore.
Nice.
Going straight from 12th grade into her sophomore year of college.
She's not on the 8-year plan that I was on. So that's good.
Hell no. No, she's too smart.
Yeah. And so we came up with the Catpocalypse. It's got magic spells. It's got magic items. It's got kitty litter. It's got your little extra stuff for familiars, It's got
cat puke. Cat puke is every cat owner's miserable dream.
Oh, yeah.
Always step in it.
Hairballs?
Yeah. No, just cat puke.
Oh, just cat puke. I've got 2 cats. Yeah, I got 2 cats. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, she puked on my laptop twice. The last time was from her perch. It's like, why is all this? Who stacked the dry food on my computer? I'm like, oh, wait a second. It's only dry because it's dried out.
That's not dried food. It's cat puke.
Yes.
So we've been working on these drawings just to kind of amuse ourselves, and then we come up with stats for it, and then we come up with 3 or 4 different other things on top of that. So it's all swords and wizardry. Should be pretty clean for that. It's fun. Looking at 32 pages, but if I write more between now and when I get it printed, then there's going to be more pages. And the price is all about I'm paying for the best paper and the best cover I can pay for.
Nice.
Nice.
And
anything that's left over is going to pay her college tuition. So
yeah.
Oh dear, definitely, yeah, definitely do that.
Yeah,
you don't make enough to pay for her college, so let's throw some money at the Catpocalypse, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, the cover looks awesome, and
I actually did that. So
okay, well, I've actually gotten compliments on the cover, like, "Oh, it's a great cover. It's a great cover you shared." I'm like, well. That's great. I didn't draw it because I can't draw it.
I copied Frazetta, and I freely admit that. It's my riff on the Fire and Ice cover, and I even had somebody comment on Planet X Games on Instagram that Frazetta was rolling in his grave on his birthday because of that cover. So I'm like, hell yeah, mission accomplished, Well, and the great thing about that, by the way, is that as many times as the story's been told on the internet, the truth of it is, I was the one that was talking to old Bob about Wilderlands, not the other 2 Bobs, but old Bob. And he goes, I said, your stuff reminds me of a Frazetta painting. He goes, I used to buy a lot of prints straight from the store. Do you suppose your bosses would want to license a cover from Frank?
Yeah.
Nice.
And I said, "Oh yeah, that's not a dream come true." As I'm like writing and expanding all of your work over the last 30 years. And so I dropped that on Bill and Clark, and they dropped it on the art director for Sword and Sorcery at the time. And they gave him a call, and first they got Frank Jr., and he was kind of like, I want new golf clubs and like, $10,000 or some crazy amount of money. And they're like, yeah, that's not happening.
Do you know who we are? Yeah.
So they told Bob, and Bob goes, and Bob's like, well, did you talk to Ellie? And this was Ellie Frazetta, his lovely wife, who's his muse his entire career. And he goes, no, we got Frank Jr. or one of the other kids, And he goes, oh, no, you need to talk to Ellie. Call and ask for Ellie. So they call and ask for Ellie and tell him that the Bob, said, hey. Well, he did used to buy a ton of the prints like that they were selling out of the back of the like the Conan magazines, your Savage Sword of Conan. You could send away to get the catalog from the Frazetta Museum and Studio and all of that. So she knew exactly who he was, and so I think they got the 2 covers for like $5,000 licensed, and they had a list of like 10 they could pick from, and those are the ones
wow.
in Wonderlands, yeah. So. And it was me, but other people.
Well, that's the story. So I did not know that story about how the Frazetta. You know what? I don't even know if I ever thought about it, but that is a great story because that makes sense now because I was wondering. Always wondered. I wonder if I thought that was just a copy of her, like somebody just aped Frazetta and not really.
That's what I thought. I'll be honest with you. Not to say anything. I was like, wow, that's a really good Frazetta rip. That's nice.
Well, I think
actually Frazetta.
I think what we got was rights to reproductions of ones that he had gone back and repainted. Because he drove a lot of people crazy when he had his stroke. He went back and he'd go and grab paintings off the wall in the museum and take them back to the studio because he didn't like the way they were, and then painted them with his left hand because he couldn't use his right hand anymore. But the repaints are every bit as good, if not better, than the originals.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, but you shouldn't go back and do that. Art exists, and then if you're going to redo something, just do like what Jeff D did and just repaint all your pictures you ever did for D&D because all Jeff D's art was thrown away. All his original art for D&D. So he said, what the hell? And so he's been doing Kickstarters. I think he's finally through with all his Kickstarters, but he did a Kickstarter for everything he ever did for TSR. And, some of the stuff's better because it's, he's obviously a better artist now than he was 40 years ago, but it's not the same.
Right.
That's what's great about art is it shows the progression of talent usually. You look at and even Frazetta, you look at early Frazetta, it doesn't look like prime Frazetta, the best Frazetta. And then some of the later Frazetta doesn't look very good because you can tell there's a little deterioration in his talents. So that's kind of interesting that he wanted to repaint his stuff. Like, I'm going to run a do-over on this one.
I'm trying to remember the name of the guy who did the original Tarzan covers in the 1900s.
I know this guy. Hold on.
And when Frazetta showed up on the scene with his portfolio, they're like, well, your stuff's no good. You need to paint like that guy. That's why his stuff from early in his career looks kind of.
I used to. Crap.
Like it's pulpish.
It's really got a real flat. It's real flat.
Okay.
It's very it's good. It's painted with gouache.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's I'm trying to remember the name of it because I had sold one of these once upon a time. I had when I was doing more book stuff, and I can't remember the guy's name now. But I'm looking at some of the pictures there. It's different, quite different.
Yeah.
But I can't get the guy's name. I'm looking at some of the covers, but I'm not seeing the guy's name, unfortunately.
John Ellen St. John.
Yeah.
John Ellen St. John.
Yeah. It's very style. It's not really. It's just very. It's really a lot different than Frazetta. It doesn't look anything like Frazetta stuff. It's much. Frazetta was that more realistic kind of style, but over the top realistic. The muscles bulging, and this is more like a color photograph from like 1920 or something. It's real soft.
Yeah,
on a soft pastel.
It looks like a tin type that they painted on.
Right.
Top.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. James Allen St. John. And And they told Frazetta he'd never make it
Yep.
unless he painted like James Allen St. John, because he actually had kind of developed a lot of his style. He thought that was really crazy because his parents pulled him out of school when he was like 7 years old and sent him to study with like an old world portrait painter, in Little Italy. So
that happened to James Bama too, the artist. He was a I mean, this is kind of niche, but basically, he did all the paperback covers for the Doc Savage books. And if you were reading stuff in the 70s, 80s, man, those things leap off the paperback shelf.
Oh yeah.
And the original covers were nothing like that, totally pulpy. And Doc Savage just looks like a dude. He's just like the dude that you see in the street or something. And
Right.
Bama has the real famous picture of Doc Savage. He's got his shirt just like shredded, and he's bronze, and just looks like the biggest badass that ever walked out of anything.
Right.
And so that's the same thing when Bam was doing the cover, like,
Hanging
oh,
right.
no, that's not what Doc Savage looks like. Doc Savage looks like this gentleman over here that has a monocle and, a nice suit and, this and that. He's like, nah. And so
Not anymore.
no. And so if you look up some of the Bama covers, they're absolutely incredible. But he created the whole look for Doc Savage, based on. But the pulp stuff looks nothing like that. It looks absolutely nothing like the Bama stuff. So it's funny when they tell a guy, "Nah, your stuff ain't gonna work," and they just basically just turns it all around on him and says, "How about that one?"
So the crazy thing on that is with going like to the Frazetta thing and the James Allen St. John is that Ken Kelly, who painted the covers for all of the big Kiss albums, is Frank Frazetta's nephew. It's his sister's kid.
That's interesting.
Oh,
I don't know that either.
So if you look at the Destroyer and Love Gun, how they look a lot like Frazetta's paintings, that's because he taught the kid how to do it.
Wow. Okay. We're just learning so much trivia here. I did not know that at all. And that is really interesting. It just shows you that, art does go in the family, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, yes, and I have to remember too. We're talking with a teacher, so he better know the history of the artist that he refers to.
Oh, he's got stories like this all over the place. So a couple of Gary Cons ago, we drove Mr. Christofferson home, Zach and I, because Zach and I drive up there every year. We drive back.
That was a great trip.
And oh my God, we had the best drive home, didn't we? Because you and I just talked all the time. I think Zach was sleeping in the back seat or something, but you and I were just talking.
The time I started driving, he was like, yeah.
And so Casey goes, "I'll drive," and so I'm like, "Yeah, go, let's do it."
Pretty much as soon as we hit the Kansas, they're a little bit outside of Kansas. And that little stretch between Iowa and Kansas. What do they call it? Missouri? Yeah.
Yeah, that thing, whatever that is. We didn't get to stop for a
2 hours in northwestern Missouri. Yeah.
We didn't stop for a giant hubcap size.
And in fact, I grabbed another one to feed
That's
the
right, we
family
did.
when I got home.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad we were able to include you in that.
It was great.
Yeah, for those who've seen the pictures online, the giant, the comically small bun, and then you have a pork loin like this big that Zach and I consume every time we go to Gary Con and come back.
Goldie's is really good.
It's
really
good, best stuff. It is good stuff. So I was glad we were able to introduce you to that. That was great.
Yeah.
No, pork loin, Daniel. Not fritter. Loin. I don't know what a fritter is, but a pork loin is
minced pork that they press into and then bread it.
No way, baby. This is the real thing. This is one whole chunk of pork.
They take a loin and they run it through
flatten it out,
flatten it like 10 times till it's like the size of a hub.
And so that means also that's nice and soft. It's not chewy or bad. Yeah, it's delicious.
So good. That and onions and pickles, a little mustard.
Oh my God, I haven't had one in like 2 years because they don't have pork loins in Texas. You can't. I don't know where you would get one.
Yeah.
I've looked. I have looked everywhere.
They're just Texas barbecue. There's no point to having.
It doesn't matter though. Every once in a while, you just get a hankering. I told my wife one weekend we're just going to head up to Iowa. That's what we're going to do. Is go. Right. We're going to go get a pork loin, and then we're going to drive back the next day.
Well, and Goldie's is great. They're not the only place up there
Oh, and we've been to Zach and I have been to a few. That's just turned out to be our favorite because the first time we went through, we've stopped at 3 or 4 of the places there. But Goldie's just ended up being our favorite.
I thought theirs was really good. I did really like it. I also like how it's kind of off the beaten path. In the middle
that's
of,
what we like too.
Really idyllic Grandma Moses countryside with like little houses on top of the hills.
And there's nothing else in town. And you drive through the main street, and there's Goldie's, and there's like 5 seats in there. There's not. It's not a big place. There's a couple of tables and a couple booths, and that's it. And it's just great. It's Americana, man. It's awesome.
It's all red barns and green tractors. I mean, for real. Yeah.
It is the middle. It is definitely the middle.
Very much
you
so.
You got to place your order with Laramie. And tell Laramie you have to bring a pork loin
Laramie's
next time.
after me. He keeps wanting. The next time we go up there, he wants to stop in there and pick him up so he can take us to get a pork loin or something. See, now we're supposed to go to Gamehole Con this year. I'm not certain if we're dry. I don't know how it's going to work because I have swore not to fly again, and I don't know if everybody else is planning to fly, and I'm going to be driving by myself, or how it's going to work. So we'll have to see come October. If I'll actually be driving up there and stopping and getting a pork loin or what, I don't know. I may have to take my wife just to have somebody to drive with. I may just make Casey go with me. I might just pick him up on the way and then.
There you go. Yeah, in Gamehole.
Give me the time off of work.
Well, I'll just pick up Ains then. Ains she'll be in college. We'll just party. We'll party.
She would love to go cross country anywhere.
She won't be old enough to drink though, so it's going to put up. That's buzzkill.
Really, anyways.
Buzzkill.
Yeah.
Well, then she can drive then. Oh, she's not drinking. She can drive. Oh, beautiful. This is going to work out. Yeah.
You just got to keep her. You got to stay awake so that she can stay awake. Other than that, you're fine.
No falling asleep.
Like more than like a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
Long drive.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So
now,
we usually do. I'm sorry, Derek. What did you want to talk about?
Since we've been hex crawling, Casey, how long is the funding period on?
Catpocalypse? I forgot to ask.
I think I got another 20 days on it. 2022 somewhere 24. In there. Is it 24? Yeah, we've got a lot of time. It's we funded yesterday.
All right, nice.
Yeah, so it's happening, and I just sent out the thank you to everybody who's kicked in so far, and let them know that pretty much I'm gonna stop writing when it comes time to lay it out. So we'll be back in content. It says it's 32 pages. It may be more. And I do have a graphic design background myself, obviously, since I teach it. So I'm kind of pre-laying it out to get an idea of what it's all going to look like and then how I want the pages to be. And I know that by the time it's all said and done, I'm probably going to lay it out as I go. So by the time we're done funding, we'll probably be within a few weeks of sending out the PDF to everybody. That's the plan, is to really have the PDF ready to go really quickly. And then however long it takes the printer, I put June as the release, but that's just because I was thinking North Texas and having positive, good thoughts in my heart about all of that. And so, but yeah, we should actually be done and ready to roll sooner. So it's
okay.
Right, COVID and everything else under the sun.
Well,
guarantee. Yeah.
And this is your first Kickstarter, right?
Right. This is my first one alone. I've done them with Trolls and Frog God, and When Levi started, I mean, Levi is absolutely murdering the scene right now, and I love him so much. He's such a great guy. And when he had his first Kickstarter, he had shared a piece of artwork that was realistic enough that the Facebook, somebody complained about nudity, and he lost access to his Instagram site, and Facebook. Within 2 minutes of pressing the button on his Kickstarter.
Really?
So, no way to promote himself, really, because he's got thousands of followers on Instagram through a couple of his sites. He's just crazy. But so I kind of put the word out to all of the buddies, hey man, help this guy out for a couple days until he gets access to his own advertising again, and everybody in this community stepped up, helped out, they shared it, they liked it, they moved it forward. We got him funded, you know. And so that's what's awesome about this. You know, you can come up with a little idea that's something that's weird and kind of off kilter. You can work really hard on it, put your labor of love into it, get your hands on it, put it out there, and, you know, have a really good chance of having something that you can share with your friends. And I think that's amazing. I'm really grateful.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think you just heard something that, you know, a lot of people overlook, and it's the community. The community stepped up for somebody who
didn't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know, I see a lot. I mentioned this earlier on one of the, or more than one of the firesides, but the zine, RPG zine community on Facebook is literally like a members helping members community. Everybody, it's not just asking for advice and free. It's people saying, "Hey, listen, you know, if you need a little InDesign tutorial, just, you know, PM me, and we'll go through it." And and you look at that and you're like, I don't see that flowing over in general in quote real life. People will help, but a lot of times, you know, it isn't as freely given. And I think that, you know, and when you are doing something like a Kickstarter, like a zine, you're self-publishing, I think the most successful creators in that situation are the ones that realize it's not a zero sum. Right. It isn't like if I produce something and Joe Smith produces something, if they sell $500 worth, it's $500 out of my pocket. And that's not how it works. Really, in the end, it might be $500 out of which of the coast pockets. But I mean, that's only because you know, sometimes you run out of money to spend on everything that you want to spend.
Yeah.
I've already blown through my $250 budget for ZineQuest, and I blew through that like on the 4th. We're on the 10th. So I'm not even going to tell you how much I spent. I got to look behind. Right behind me. I've spent significantly more than $250.
Oh man.
You know.
Yeah. But it's nice. It's like it absolutely is the community. Another example of our community pulling together. You know, when this COVID situation, when we went back to online learning, you know, and I said to my school district, and they were very supportive, and I was like, I need to have, I don't even have one with me, but I need a drawing tablet,
right,
a drawing pad that these kids can plug into the laptop, do their work for my class at home, because that's 21st century technology. That's what everybody's using. This is what I'm teaching. I need to be able to at least give them the opportunity at equity, you know? And the school district is like, we love everything you're saying. We don't have any money for you. And and so I was like, I'm going to do what I always have done. I'm going to take it to the street. So I took it to the street. I sent it out to the people in the gaming community. And $2,400 was what the gaming community and our buddies who support us day after day, project after project, our kind contributors, the people who keep us out here talking to each other, threw in $2,400. They didn't have to do any of that. They did it. They helped my school. They helped my kids. Someone else, and I don't know who, also, it doesn't matter though. The speculation is wild and crazy. And another donor came forward, stepped in with another $2,200.
Oh, damn.
And that covered my complete goal of what I'd hoped to reach. Donors Choose is pretty great, by the way, for schools, in that if you don't exactly meet your funding goal, they'll let you rerun it and credit you all of the money everyone already donated, so that you can just reduce what your load was to what you need, donate it all from the pile that they gave you, and get it to, instead of just being all or nothing. It's people who committed to you are all in. And therefore you're not wasting their money. You're still going to get some of your stuff if you can't get all of your stuff, which is pretty great. And,
that's really
and like I said, we don't know who came up with the other $2,200 or whatever it was. On the side, I asked the bookkeeper. She said magic, which means secret donor. And so then I asked my boss, the principal, and I said, and she said, I said, do you know who? And she says, I thought maybe you knew who. And so maybe taking it to the streets went another level. I don't know.
It wasn't me. I would love to have taken credit for
They
that.
very well have
Yeah.
been,
Yeah.
which is fine. But it's like I said, intense speculation aside. We're very grateful, and I've been able to hand out about 60, 70 of the units so far. Because
Wow.
Wow.
the way it works, distributing the materials, masking up, when you can do that, when you can't, and then the freezing cold weather on top of everything kind of dampened a couple times of me completely getting 100% deployment. But I've been able to deploy about 30-40% of the materials, and got kids creating stuff on it right now.
That's a beautiful thing, and that really. But again, like you said, that's
our
community.
community.
I've seen them come together for people that have illnesses, financial crisis. Even somebody who, you need your car to do your regular job, and all of a sudden you need repairs that you can't afford. You weren't able to plan for. And I've seen the community step up so many times. And for those out there that might be listening to this and sisters, it's not a community. The Yellow Star is not a community. All right. For those of you at home, I'm going to give you a visual. I got 2 fucking fingers up. All right. It is a community. I'm very proud to be a part of it. And I think it's an awesome community. It's a strong community.
Very strong.
And we're better for it. I mean, seriously, it really does a great job. So, and obviously somebody in the community also had deep pockets. Even when the tavern backs a lot of these GoFundMe's for health reasons and stuff, I usually can't do more than like a match for $400 or $500 of what the tavern raises to $2,200. Rachel wouldn't bat an eye, but I would, because I'd be like, I don't know where I'm getting the money from. But
well, it's funny now, because when I back Kickstarters, I'm really at the point now where I'm just backing my friends, and so just backing my friends. I mean, if I just back like Casey and then Lloyd and Levi and the usual suspects,
and
thank God I work
Tom.
for Frog God now. I don't have to back Frog God Kickstarters anymore. Yeah, and Tom, I'm sitting there. I spend all my Kickstarter budget right there on just backing friends. So I'm like, well,
Right.
I don't even have time to look at anything else not on my list. Just backing the people I know, because they all put out quality stuff. All their stuff's good.
Zach sent me a box of books the other day, and I had to clear off one of my entire bookshelves downstairs so I could put all of the softcover modules that I've worked on in the last 2 years.
Yeah, we're finally. Yeah, we were so far behind Casey on doing contributors stuff. We were so far behind on that. So. Yeah, I'm glad you finally got your stuff there.
We're getting it taken care of. We're getting some stuff sent up to Santa finally. So pretty excited for her, because she's been doing stuff for a few years now, and she's never seen her stuff actually in print before, even though we all have.
Man, she is an underrated artist. Her stuff is
so good.
Oh, incredible.
She works very hard.
My goodness. Her stuff is just really, you told me about her, and I checked her page out, and I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
This lady is good. She's really, really good.
She's funny, because she was starting to fall into this where she was really only doing landscapes thing. And I'm like, why is this figure like so tiny and so far away and with their back to the page? What's going on? Are you walking away from doing figure work? She goes, well, I don't know. And I'm like, no. I hired you because you're really good at figures and you're really good at backgrounds. Oh, and I was like, and I gave her just this little piece of advice. I said, role-playing games are character-centric. So you generally, even if it's a landscape, if you put a character in it, that character is going to be the start of the focal point.
And I heard her name is Santa Norvaset. No, I can't pronounce it. Norvaset. She's a Canadian, right?
Yes.
And so check out her Facebook page. I'm trying to think where her art would be. Does she have a web page?
She does Art Station.
Art Station. Okay.
Yeah.
And I can't spell Santa.
I can't type into the thing. So Norvaisite.
Yeah, something like that.
Good.
Just check it out.
Spelling.
You'll be blown away. Her stuff.
She's originally from Latvia.
Yeah.
And her and her mom came over when she was a little girl, and she took her art aptitude from her mom and got right into an art program, art school. She does some stuff for She does like quick renders for video game developers and things like that is one of the things that she does. And but she's such a wonderful girl.
I don't fanboy much, but when you told me about her, I went and checked her out on Facebook. Then I friended her, and I just was the ultimate. You don't know who I am. I'm Mike from Frog God. Your stuff's really good. I mean, because it was just so good. I just want to let you know who I was. I'm Mike from Frog God. She's like, oh, thank you very much. Like, this is really good stuff. This is awesome.
I pulled the ultimate dad move. One of our books that's coming out has this special golden throne, and Miss Ainsley here. So after she got tired of being killed by Matt the fighter, she switched to a thief, and ever since then, no problem.
No problem.
I don't think she's had a character really die yet since she's been a thief.
Nice.
So we just finished. We ran with her friends and my friends together. We ran the entire City of Brass campaign. It took us like a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years, because lots of interruptions, as you know. And so Santa painted her character laying across the throne for one of the pieces in one of our upcoming books, and it looks just like her if she was cosplaying her character.
Oh, how great!
Oh, nice.
It's beautiful.
I've just been growing my bangs out to
Yeah.
just look like my D&D.
She says she's growing her bangs out to look like her D&D character now. So.
Why there's a middle part.
Perfect.
I can't look like my D&D character. I used to always play dwarfs, so that's just not going to work.
Right. Yeah,
not going to work for me. Sorry.
Well, you got the a bit of the beard.
I'm too tall. I mean, well, I'm 5'8", but I'm too tall for a dwarf. Sorry.
Well, I'm 5'9". I thought I was 5'8" until they.
I used to be 5'9", my man. I used to be 5'9", and the sad truth, I kept writing 5'9" down. I finally did the measurements, and I had to admit to myself that I was shrinking. I was getting older, and I was shrinking.
I feel you. I used to be 5'11", and now I'm 5'9".
Wow, that's some compression, baby.
I hurt my back real bad about 15 years ago. I somehow blew out. I bulged 3 discs in my back, and I lost about 1.5 inches. So.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, because I just laid on the floor for like 6 months before going to get any help, because they're just going to give you drugs or something,
Yeah.
And I found out that they can actually do things.
There's things they can actually do. It's not all holistic medicine.
I'm not the smartest Viking from Iowegia.
Just a few shots of scotch, you'll be fine. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Walk it off. No.
Walk it off. That's where I grew up. Rub some dirt on it. Walk it off. What's wrong with you? You can't bend over or turn to the left or right. For any reason.
Well, I had Casey. I had a herniated disc in the 90s, and I was actually off work for 6 months. And the doctor at the time, actually old doctor, really smart guy. He said, "Look, there's 2 things you can do. You can either operate on it, and it'll probably get better, but you're operating on your back. There's always difficulties." He said, "Or just rest." He said, "If you just don't, just rest, and it will eventually heal itself." And it took literally about 10 years. But it did get better without surgery. It took a long time before I was able to not feel pain in my back. And so it took I'm glad, because my brother got an operation with his back, and he had some just horrible things because of that operation. Yeah. Just sometimes it turns out worse than, if you hadn't even got the operation.
Well, once I got him to pop my spine back into place, I started working on doing core type exercises to strengthen my back and my core. It was like, don't just do push-ups. You got to do the the pull-ups and all that stuff too. You got to make your back as strong as the front, and that was causing all sorts of problems, because when you're a kid, you like bench press, whatever, and you're actually pulling yourself forward. You got to do as much work on your back to keep your equilibrium, so you don't have rotator cuff problems and back problems and all kinds of junk. So I've done better. I've been able to avoid surgery, but my old man tells me it's coming. He goes, "But you'll get your height back, and then you'll look better." So They put some titanium discs in his back, and
boy!
All of a sudden, he was 6 foot tall again. I'm like,
jeez.
are you kidding me? Yeah.
I don't know. I dated a woman who said that she was 5'11", and then I realized that she was 6'1". I was 5'9". It was like, it's like okay, you're tall. You know, nobody claims to be 5'11" as a woman unless you're like 6 foot or taller. I don't want to be 6 foot. I mean, I'm just 5'11".
Well, because it's tough because women don't want to date guys short. I mean, look, let's be honest here. Women usually don't want to date guys smaller than them. I mean, it does happen, but they usually, they're not interested. So guys have to lie and add a couple of inches, even though it doesn't matter because when you meet the girl, she knows you're not that tall.
I'm not going to get into the other innuendo there. I'm just going to let that.
Whoa! Hey, hello. I fell down. I was so shocked at that one. But no,
Mike was wearing lifts on his computer,
and one of my really good friends growing up, she was a volleyball player and basketball player, and we were really good friends. But it was never going to happen because she was 6 feet tall and I was 5'9". So it was never. I learned early on, it just doesn't work out usually. But we were great friends though. But yeah, she let me in on the fact that it's tough for a girl if you're tall because you got to look for somebody taller than you. So all girls end up dating basketball players, and in her words, basketball players are mostly blank, So most of the players she knew were mostly blanks. So she had a tough time finding somebody that was taller than her.
You needed to buy shoes from like Al Pacino's shoemaker, so you could get your lips built in that weren't so obvious, and then. And then you'd be fine until the bedroom.
In which case, too. I saw a picture of him. Doesn't De Niro get the big lifted shoes?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Oh, De Niro. That's right. They both do. Yeah.
Well, Cruz has to have him too because Cruz is like tiny. He's like 5'3" or 5'4", and every movie I swear he looks like he's 6 feet tall. So they're doing something there.
Oh, it's all camera angles.
Yeah, I guess so.
Trent Reznor's a really small fella too. But most of the people that are in the band with him are like even smaller than he is. On stage, he looks, like pretty massive, and then you like get in really close proximity with him, and you realize this guy's maybe 5'5", which means everybody in his band is like 5'1", 5'2". Well, except the drummer who's sitting down, so you can't see them anyway, right?
Right.
And then his wife is from the
Philippines, dad.
And she's very small, so. Yeah, and he's been working out for like 20 years ever since he got off the heroin. So he just looks jacked, and he looks huge, and then you're like, wait a minute,
the optical illusion,
right?
Well, it's like the Lord of the Rings movies. It's all camera angles. Come on,
right?
We can make them all look small, and who do we got to make look big? And we just
Wait! You're telling me all the guys playing hobbits aren't really 4 feet tall? I'm shocked.
No, dude, I'm so sorry. Except for Samwise. Samwise probably was.
About 9 months before she was born, Kathy was standing in a hallway, waiting for me at a Gamma in Las Vegas, and John Rhys Davies was literally standing, shaking hands and signing autographs right behind her, and she had no idea that guy who played Gimli is like 6'3".
Yeah, he's huge. Yeah, big
giant
dude.
of a man was standing right behind her, and I'm like, "You're right there, John Rhys Davies," and she's like, "Oh."
That's not the same guy because you're playing a dwarf. You're tiny.
And who was the fellow that played Wormtongue? I can never remember his name. And Brad Dourif. Yeah, and he has like that super West Texas accent in real life.
Right. Yeah.
And because he was there and he was just hanging out, greeting fans, no big deal. And it's like, y'all real cool for coming out here.
That always gets you because some of those actors are so good at accents.
Yeah.
And they practice accents. I was reading an article the other day about an Irish actress, and I can't remember her name, who spent most of the time during COVID learning an American accent because it gives you more jobs. I mean, if you can pull off an accent. So she said it took her like 6 months to be able to speak New York. I was like, wow, that's it's like, it takes you a lifetime. Come on, man, 6 months ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, until she starts dropping the F-bombs and really you have to accentuate the proper way you say fuck. Until you've done that, you're not a real New Yorker. I'm sorry.
Hey, Daisy in Star Wars
use the word multiple ways. Go ahead.
The girl who played Daisy. I'm sorry, Daisy. The girl who played Rey in Star Wars. She did the same thing. She said she took voice classes because she wanted to be able to play different characters, and so apparently she's trying to learn an American accent too. What's funny is because there's not an American accent. There's regional. You can learn Southern or West Coast or East Coast or Northwest or Midwest. There's all these different dialects. And the same thing is we think all English people will speak with an English accent, but people that are from England can pick out exactly what part of England
they're damn to the right. They can pick out the neighborhood in London that you're from, depending on the accent.
So that's funny. I'm wondering if I'm sure he didn't, but I'm wondering if what's his name, Humperdinck Pumpkin Patch. Benedict Cumberbatch. Hopefully he worked on his for the next Doctor Strange movie, because I don't know if I can handle his American accent.
Oh boy!
I've heard worse than Benedict. I've heard much worse than him. So
we should go get a sandwich.
Well, I always wondered where the guy that played House talks so odd. I'm like, that is the weirdest American. I could never figure out where he's from. Well, he's from England. That's why I could never figure out where he's from. But because he had the most bizarre accent in that TV show. I mean, great actor. And it was a great part. He did a great job. But that accent does not exist anywhere in America that he spoke in.
Mendelsohn, he's Australian. And Ben Mendelsohn? Ben Mendelsohn, he's like everybody's favorite bad guy now. They cast him in all the bad guy roles for everything. He was actually great, and he was probably my favorite part of Captain Marvel.
And then you actually hear him without the American accent. It's like,
with his Australian accent,
wait a minute.
His American accent's pretty good, though. He sometimes sounds like his tongue is really thick. So it's just things we watch a lot of movies because we got nothing else going on for the last year.
Welcome to the world of COVID.
Yeah, we do. We watch a ton of films. We watch a lot of films. This is
we got caught up on our Netflix ourselves during the last year or so.
Well, we caught up on The Expanse. Like I had watched The Expanse. Rachel had never seen it. Then she got hooked on it, and she was like, "Oh, great!" And a new season.
I still gotta watch the latest season. Yeah, I still didn't watch the latest season, man. Gotta get that going.
It's really good. So now I see Babylon 5 is out on HBO, and it's the remastered digital. So I'm like, I haven't watched Babylon 5 probably about 12 years.
I'm gonna warn you, it doesn't always hold up, Eric. Babylon 5, Babylon 5 goes cheapo on the sci-fi, but of course the characterization stuff's great.
Yep.
But you can notice how cheap the sci-fi is now because everything's just so good now. I mean, with CGI and just the special effects they have are just so incredible.
The first season, the first season, as I recall, was it was a slog to get through.
Yeah, it's either good.
And the last season sucks shit because
2, 3, and 4 are great. They are. 2, 3, and 4 are great.
But you have to watch season 1 to understand 2, 3, and 4.
And you don't have to watch 5 though. You don't because we did that. My wife and I went through all 5 seasons several years back, and we're like, yeah, we should have stopped at 4. 5 was because the story behind that, right? He did not know he was going to be able to do a 5th season, so he pretty much ended it season 4, and then they go, oh, guess what? You're renewed for another season. He's like, oh. Okay, well, I ended it, but we could just take some other storylines, and it just does. It's very weak compared to what happened in the first 4 seasons. 5 seasons.
You'd already wrapped up the plot.
Sure, you wrapped it all up. Yeah, but it's good stuff.
Have you guys watched Utopia yet?
Have not.
Oh my god!
All right, where is that Amazon?
Amazon Prime, yeah.
All right, I recognized it.
There's 2 versions. There's an English version and an American version. I have a friend who's watched both, and he said, just go ahead and watch the American series because plot-wise and everything, they polished up some obvious plot holes in the English series. and have cast better actors. But it is bananas. It is
okay. I've got to put that on the list now too.
Yeah. It was about 6-7 episodes, not very long. It was one of the few shows I can handle a lot of violence on, as long as it isn't real violence. Like, I don't like watching surgery. I can't handle Dr. Pimple Popper. I don't like that stuff at all. But fake movie violence, that kind of thing, whatever, doesn't bother me, never did. It's one of the few shows that actually kind of made me cringe a few times with some stuff going on. Where I was kind of like, it was hard to watch because it was very lifelike. And it's a great show. John Cusack and a bunch of other, I won't say they're no name, but they're like supporting actors in a lot of other shows that are getting a chance to jump up. And what's his name? Ryan Wilson? Not the Ryan who ruined Star Wars, the other one. The one from The Office.
God's they were in Star Wars. Thank you, sir. You're an American hero for that. Thank you.
Not that one, but the decent one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Ryan Wilson? I can handle real world violence. I've seen gunshots, knife wounds. Seen people cut with blood spurting everywhere. No big deal. You show me on something like on Discovery where they actually have an operation going on and they're opening somebody up. I'm like, get me a pail. I can't deal with it because it's like the one essence I was getting paid to deal with it. I don't want to do it for my own entertainment, I guess. Maybe that's the difference. I don't know. Well, we've strayed off. So Mike. Bring us back to the news.
I'm going to bring us back. So we can everybody jump in as usual. So we have had another, which you just informed me of, another WotC out of court settlement for a case. So they're cleaning up their mess. First of all, we had the case where they canceled the contract with Weiss and Hickman of Dragonlance. And
timeout wasn't canceled. It was, we are not going to approve.
We're not going to okay anything.
But we're not canceling.
But we're not canceling you, but nothing's okay.
Right. We don't owe you anything for
we're not going to
canceling a contract because we're not canceling it. You're still under contract.
Yeah, you're still under contract.
But we're not going to give any more approvals on any of the work that you do. So don't bother submitting anything, but we're not canceling the contract. So we're doing this.
So fill us in on what this case was about. This was the
Gale Force 9.
Gale Force 9. So fill us in on that.
Gale Force 9 does a lot. In New York, we would say they do a lot of the tchotchkes for Dungeons and Dragons. They do a lot of the high end. Ooh! I want to collect that. That looks really cool type of stuff. And I think they were also involved in licensing out translations of D&D products in other languages. So the lawsuit, which Gale Force 9 filed, now this is in November, which is right around the time the other lawsuit was going on. So let's figure that one out. It's sought to prevent Wizards of the Coast from terminating Gale Force 9's licenses. I'm reading this on ICV2, by the way. It was suing to prevent Wizards of the Coast from preventing Gale Force 9's licenses, terminating them to produce Dungeons and Dragons products. Requested a reward of $950,000 because we don't want 7 figures. We just want the most 6 figures we can get. Fees and other remedies. So, as they say in ICV2, apparently Gale Force 9's effort to maintain its license appears to have been successful. We are pleased to confirm that we have reached an amicable resolution with Wizards of the Coast. Our ongoing partnership for Dungeons and Dragons will continue, and more news will follow at a later date. So
we have another everything's happy and happy land.
Yes,
everything's okay.
I know how they say that all publicity is good publicity, and maybe these two situations were a case of bad publicity. If Wizards of the Coast had just waited with Weiss and Hickman, Tracy Hickman is apparently stepped in multiple bags of flaming shit on his own violation.
Yes.
I'm sure if the contract that he initially signed with Wizards had any clauses for causing irreparable harm to the IP by doing stupid shit, Tracy would have won that award. It could have probably, but Wizards of the Coast blinked and settled, which is great for the fans of Dragonlance. I just am interested to see what we're going to get. I'm interested to see what this resolution is going to be. You never find out right away. More news will follow at a later date, and we'll see what happens.
So Gale Force basically, their thing was everything's fine now. Everything's taken care of. So we're left with just absolute utter speculation, which I don't know. We hate to speculate, obviously, but
never speculate.
What the hell was going on that they filed all these lawsuits only to settle months later? That because usually you file a lawsuit when you're in position of strength and you want to renegotiate a contract.
They were being sued by both these parties. They were basically saying, "Fuck your contract." In the case of Weiss and Hickman, we are not going to terminate the contract. We're just not going to approve anything further. Please don't bother sending us revisions that we won't look at, because this isn't going anywhere. In this case, it was, we're looking for a reason to get out of our contract with you, and we're going to terminate it. Gale Force 9 was like, well, fuck you.
But we're really not going to ever know really who blinked, because obviously this is all under NDAs and all things. Because when Weiss and Hickman were given the okay to, you can go ahead with your novels, they included their announcement that there will be a new protagonist that everybody's going to love. So apparently they did something to where they said, okay, we'll write the books, but we're going to have this new, what was the wording they used? New, exciting, different, diverse protagonist that's going to now be part of the. So apparently I don't know if they blinked, but they apparently said, okay, we'll do the books and we'll include protagonists of choice here and do this. I don't know what Gale Force. I don't know if WotC got anything out of that. Do they get anything out of? I don't know. It's just really odd because I'm not seeing any definite advantages or disadvantages for anybody here. It looks, it makes it look like WotC blinked. It looks like WotC blinked. But I don't know. I don't see why a big company would do that.
Weiss and Hickman obviously were at the advantage because they got to publish the books that they were working on. They're going to get paid for the work that they did and are going to do. So there is a blinkage going on there. Now, Gale Force 9, I'm going to throw this out there. I'm going to spitball this or spit on the whole thing. Who knows? But I'm going to work on the assumption that Wizards of the Coast did not. This is before Discovery was done. And I suspect there are things in the Discovery phase that Gale Force 9 was looking to have revealed, and Wizards of the Coast was, oh shit. We don't want to, and it might have been licensing for the upcoming movie, right? Gale Force 9 would probably have be part of the license. They were going to say, well, we want to reveal that the reason why we want nearly $1 million is because we would be profiting on the movie and these characters from the movie. And I think, again, we're spitballing, no inside information. Kurt, I didn't reach out to anybody. I don't know anybody at Wizards. Mike Merles doesn't know who the fuck I am unless I annoy him, in which case maybe he does. But so I would suspect, because even the article on ICV2 said this is before Discovery, and Discovery is when the courts say they want to know XYZ, you must present that to the court, and Discovery becomes public often. And if it doesn't become public, it often gets leaked. So I suspect that's what was going on there. It could be something similar with the Weiss and Hickman. Now, again, we don't know what the story is going to be, literally, what the plot line is going to be yet for the new D&D movie. I don't know. Could it be based on Kryn. If not Dragonlance, could Kryn be the default setting? We don't know. But in both cases, Witches of the Coast blinked or at least settled. Because remember, they're the ones being sued, so they're the ones that had to make some kind of an offer that made the aggrieved parties go, okay, we'll withdraw a lawsuit before the discovery phase. I mean, discovery is a great phase. That's how we got to find out that Ken Whitman had been lying through his fucking teeth. Nights at Dinner Table, live action series. Discovery, in of all things, Small Claims Court.
No, they're talking about legal stuff, but
we're talking about my good friend Ken Whitman, the scammer of many Kickstarters, and most infamously the Knights of the Dinner Table live action series. So you're 18, so I can tell you, Ken Whitman can go fuck himself. That is not that is just a statement of opinion.
That's a freebie,
and that's a freebie.
Yeah.
So, and I like Bob. Bob was like, "Hey, if it's cringe, it could be direct to video on Netflix." It wasn't the original Dragonlance cartoon with Lucy Wallace.
They were terrible. Those Dragonlance cartoons were terrible. But that is honestly, you can look at everything that WotC, Hasbro, whatever. The most I'm telling you right now, and Eric and I have talked about this many times. The most valuable property that most valuable property they own is Dragonlance, because it comes in with a built-in storyline that's ready for movie making. Whereas when you talk about just generic D&D, there's not a built-in storyline. Are you going to do something about the Tomb of Horrors? Are you going to do something terrible like the first D&D movie? Are you going to do you got to have Dungeons and Dragons? Are you going to do a dungeon? So you're going to have to write a story for that, unless you're doing Driss Jordan or something. Dragonlance is a built-in storyline that millions of readers have loved for decades, and you just can't go wrong with it if you just basically film the first trilogy. So in terms of what's most marketable, it's Dragonlance by far. And so that's definitely what they're going to be. I think at least what they should focus on if they're going to do a movie is focus on these characters that, Sturm and Raistlin and Tanis and all these really, well-known characters, rather than we're just going to make up a D&D movie. That's one of the problems that happens when they try to film Conan without doing any Robert E. Howard stories. They're like, oh, Conan's a barbarian, he's going to do stuff and kill things and this and that, when all they have to do is go to the source material, read what Robert E. Howard actually wrote. It's great stuff, and make a movie out of Tower of the Elephant or, Beyond the Black River or something. And so the same thing with Dragonlance. Just take the original Dragonlance trilogy, make a movie of it, and you've got gold.
Yeah.
And
it's built for
two trilogies.
They might end up. Well, you can't really trust all movie executives and production companies, because they could take the trilogy of about 1, maybe 2, 3 books, and just not make it great, or just turn it into 7 movies that don't really need to be, kind of like what happened to The Hobbit.
Oh.
One book
or Harry Potter. Yeah. It's like, oh my god! I mean, these kids are having kids of their own now. How are they still in wizard school?
Yes, exactly.
But you guys agree with me, right? I mean, it's a built-in moneymaker if you just don't mess with it. I mean, here's a trilogy. I mean, we all look. Us 4 can sit around one weekend with the original books and just with a red pen write the screenplay for the next for a Dragonlance trilogy. It's that easy.
Cotta, pick me, Mr. Cotta. Pick me.
It's that easy. So I think that it was really behooved them. It really made sense for them to make nice with Weiss and Hickman and get them all on board. And like I said, we don't know what the next D&D movie is going to be about. It could be an original script, which it probably is. I don't know.
Here, well, let's throw this out then. So Weiss and Hickman are going to be writing a new trilogy, right? And they're going to include a new major character that has not been introduced before.
Yes.
So what if what they are working on is going to become the base for the new D&D movie, more movies? Again, No inside information, Kurt. We don't know.
If that was the case, though, they would have never. WotC would have never done what they did to him. If that was the case, they would have never bounced him basically and said, we're not doing anything with these guys. I just don't think that would have ever happened. That they would have had too much wrapped up in that to even take the chance that YC Hickman would say, okay, well, we're going to take our trilogy and walk, and we're just not going to write anymore. That I just don't. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to me that would have been a big chance for them to take.
So Bob is like, he always thought the Dragonlance was crud. Well, you know what? Dragonlance was formulistic, but it was extremely popular. Doesn't mean that it's great literature.
It's not great literature, and it doesn't necessarily hold up that great either. But it's well known. It's a favorite for millions of people for decades, and it's it covers all the. It's got dungeons, it's got dragons in it. It covers everything you'd want to put in a big screen movie. But yes, it's not really. I remember reading it. I came really late to Dragonlance. I don't think I read it to the late 80s or so. And I remember at the time I kind of winced a few times, like, this is not very good writing. But it's a compelling story. It's a fun story. It's got some great characters in it. So yeah, it doesn't have to be good. It just has to be memorable.
Right. And I think that's part of it. And again, it has name recognition outside of the hobby. We tend to forget as gamers that grew up playing in that era when Dragonlance came out. For us, it was a book that was gaming fiction. But for a lot of people, I knew friends at my old job when I worked retail that knew Dragonlance, and they weren't gamers.
Right.
They knew Dragonlance as its own property.
One of the most amazing experiences I had in the late 80s was going on a not really blind date, but a date with a girl, and going to her apartment, walking in and finding Dragonlance art all over the wall. And it was just like, wow. And so I'm like, oh, you play D&D? She goes, no, I don't play D&D. And she just read the books. All she knew was the calendars and the books. And although that gave us something to talk about, I mean, at least that, but right. I just couldn't believe I walked in like, you don't even play D&D? Like, oh no, I don't even know what D&D is. I mean, she just read the books. And so, yes, it was able to nurture a whole different side of the not just that side of the hobby, but actually people that liked fantasy light books. Oh, and I just found the definition here. The definition was a new strong protagonist, which is such a weird way of wording it, because why is the word strong in there? It doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't you just say new protagonist? I mean, is there any chance it would have been a new weak protagonist? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to put strong in there, which makes me think that it must be, I know this sounds terrible, it must be a female, because that's how you always, it's a strong female protagonist. Like, why would you have a weak female protagonist? But that's the way it's always referred to, is a strong female protagonist.
Any protagonist is going to be
why would you need the strong in there? I don't get why strong needs to even be in there. Obviously, it's a strong protagonist because it's a protagonist. So I don't know.
Some protagonists start out like really wimpy, like Luke, and then they gradually go on. So maybe they're, I don't know, potentially trying to distinguish, like, this is a seasoned like fighter or something, or like that.
I didn't think about it that way, but you could be right, Ains. I was thinking about it more of,
but
just to seem like it was redundant. Like, okay, a new strong protagonist. Okay, well, protagonists should be strong anyway. I mean, but you're right. Maybe they mean, maybe they're not speaking code. Maybe they're just telling me the guy is actually it's a strong person. That means they're not a magic user or a thief or a they're a badass.
So,
the pitchfork.
Bruce said that Joe Mangiello just did a good interview or talk on a video how Dragonlance is Star Wars, the good Star Wars, the classic Star Wars. And I don't know about that. I think Star Wars has a lot more depth to Dragonlance. I enjoyed it for what it was. But somebody else.
But how much does Joe? Unless Joe's in the new movies, seriously, I mean, how much does Joe really know? I don't know. I mean, Joe, he may know some stuff.
He'll know more than we know.
Yeah, that's true. He's got to know more than we know. I guess that is true.
Yeah, he might be like getting some inside.
I agree, but Bruce, I think that's a good. I think as a good point. I think Dragonlance. I agree. I think Dragonlance is Star Wars in terms of it's an iconic story. You know that told right, you don't really have to mess with too much. You just kind of throw it out there, and there it is. You know, I mean, look, Star Wars is not great literature or great movie making. It's very much. You know, I mean, look, Star Wars was made for kids when it first came out as kids, and only when it started getting delusions of grandeur, when George Lucas started thinking he was a badass, it started like, oh, this is much deeper than just a story about people in space. This that it's got all these. It's got this crazy depth to it. Well, it didn't always have that depth. Look at the first movie. They made the first movie not knowing there was going to be sequels, which is why so many characters are so different. Why Darth Vader is the way he is in the original movie, not like that in the later movies. Why there's a lot of that in the first movie because they had to wrap everything up. That's why Luke advanced so quickly, and he was a farm boy. Then boom, he's master of the Force. Well, because they didn't know they were going to have 2 more movies. They had to wrap it all up in the one movie. So it's not great movie making by any means, but it doesn't have to be. It just has to be entertaining, right? I mean, we just want to be entertained.
That's it.
It's
Again, Dragonlance
Joseph Campbell meets samurai movies meets westerns.
Yep.
That's what
those were all his influences, exactly. Yep. Samurai movies.
He wanted to do Flash Gordon, and they said no.
There's what's the samurai movie that's based off like Dark? Is it called The Dark Tower or I can't remember the name.
The Hidden Fortress.
The Hidden Fortress. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but people, it's pretty much beat for beat episode 4. So matter of fact, some people say it's mind blowing how close it is to how episode 4 Star Wars: A New Hope is beat for beat the Hidden Tower. So or the Hidden Fortress. I'm sorry. So yeah, nothing was even really that original there even.
All right, I'll grant
Hidden
that.
Fortress,
I mean, all art kind of takes from other arts, pretty much.
True. What was it?
Well, they've all been telling the same story for 25,000, 30,000 years anyway.
36 storylines to be exact.
It's all a story. It's all a story. But,
there was I know you guys aren't really plugged into the comic book world, but Chuck Dixon, who is a long time comic book writer, he wrote Punisher, Batman, Robin. He had a very controversial article this week where he said that if you rely on the Campbell myth, you're a lousy writer. So that it was basically the point he was trying to make is nowadays everybody does the Campbell myth, right? And for those who are not familiar, Joe Campbell wrote a book about basically it has to do with you start out with low and you got this one guy who's not powerful and then he becomes this and he gets more power. It's kind of like the plot of basically every trilogy out there. You start off here
up in a D&D game.
Yeah. And so his thing was, if you're a writer starting out, don't use the Campbell myth. Go beyond that because it's been done a billion times. Don't do that and pat yourself on the back that I just did the classic, Joe Campbell, mytho of, start out, low and end up high. Do something totally different. And so a lot of people chastised him like, oh my God, why would you, this myth is so great because that's why everybody uses it because it's so great. But he's right. Sometimes you want to branch out a little bit and do something different. And some of the stuff that we like a lot is, isn't following that formula. If you get a chance, look up Wikipedia, look up Joe Campbell, look up, the myth of, the hero myth that he talks about. So anyway, but yeah, Chuck made that point that we've overdone that now. I mean, because, and really once we did Star Wars, was there any reason to do it again? Because that's basically what Star Wars is,
because money, man. Money makes the world go round, and that's why come on. Revenge of the Jedi. I meant Return.
There was some symbolism in the movie that everyone hated. The Force Awakens, or not the Force Awakens, the other one, the
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi. you do understand and Mike has lots of opinions about Star Wars, but especially that movie. But when Luke goes up and milks that alien's titty, that's symbolic of how George Lucas squeezed every penny he could out of that franchise before he sold it to Disney. It's also symbolic of how Disney has squeezed it so hard the milk turned from blue to green.
You know what? If I believe that, Casey, I wouldn't hate Rian Johnson as much if I really believe that was he was doing that. Because
Disney turned that milk from blue to green because they're just squeezing pure money out of it.
If I thought that Rian Johnson really had that, I would actually give the guy some kudos because look, I like Rian Johnson's movies. I like Looper a lot. I like Brick a lot, but all his movies are all about. I mean, even Knives Out was deconstructing detective, was parlor room detective stories. Brick was deconstructing noir. Looper was deconstructing time travel. The one guy you didn't need to hire for the middle movie of a trilogy was the guy that went with the express purpose of, I'm going to deconstruct the Star Wars mythos.
If you wanted to do the deconstruction, they probably should have hired Taika Waititi instead.
Yeah, because his deconstructions are entertaining. Exactly. He can entertain you, plus do it. He treats material respectively. I mean, yes, you know, I know a lot of people didn't like the Thor movie, but it was a fun movie. That's my favorite movie of my wife's. She liked that movie more than any other Marvel movie because it didn't take itself seriously. But it was fun because comic books shouldn't take themselves seriously. So, you know, it was a fun movie. But God, that Rian Johnson monstrosity was just a beatdown because it's so obvious looking back on it that he was like, I'm going to totally deconstruct this thing, man. Like people you think are heroes really aren't heroes, and the people that aren't heroes really are the heroes. And you know, and you expect this to happen. Well, I'm going to throw this totally different in your face. It's not going to happen the way you thought. No. It's a Star Wars movie. This is just make a Star Wars movie. I don't care. I don't want to watch Bugs Bunny and see, you know, and have to be beat over the head with political commentary. Now, yes, Bugs Bunny cartoons did have political commentary in them. They did. And if you're an adult, you can appreciate that. You watch it and go, oh, that's pretty funny that he worked in there. But it's not all about that. That's not what it's about. It's about Bugs Bunny being hilarious. You know, and so Rian Johnson sucked the joy out of Star Wars movies by saying, "I'm going to beat you over the head that this is not your father's Star Wars movie." No, we want our father's Star Wars movie. That's what we want. End of rant. Sorry,
give us the same thing. We miss it. Life is hard.
And I mean, because of that, you know, what's his name had to spend half of the third movie undoing everything Rian Johnson did just so he could get the story back on track, which is why that trilogy is such a mess. And there's rumors even coming out even now that they're going to retcon that whole trilogy because it's just such an absolute mess.
Favreau kind of talked to that a little while ago. And he basically said, listen, we have 31 years in
between
timeline,
the end of the 6th and the beginning of the 7th. So
right.
He goes, we can do whatever we want in that 31 years and still end up with the same 7, 8, 9, and everybody's going to be happy by the time we get there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could tell 30 years of Luke being a kick-ass dude rather than Luke being a whiny ass on an island sucking milk out of an alien's tit, you know.
Green milk.
Yes. But you know, so yeah, we don't have to focus on that right away. That could happen way down the line. You know, we've got
an entire 2 seasons of Grogu learning everything from Luke.
Which is why I will always say that this can absolutely be proven. And boy, James Spawn and I will go on about this for days on Facebook if you never see our posts. But the Mandalorian absolutely saved the franchise because before that came out, they had canceled all the projects, or they hadn't canceled them. They had put them on hold, and they were getting hammered by the fans, and they were getting hammered by right and left, this and that. And the Mandalorian came out, all of a sudden it was all roses and happy, and everybody loves Grogu, and it's just, you know, everything changed. Oh my gosh. And it was all these callbacks, it was all these Easter eggs, and they just made, you know, they just took the original fan, they just massaged them and said, it's going to be all right, man. It's going to be all right. Look, you got all these cool things, you know? And so, so they need to write Favreau and Filoni the biggest check they could ever write anybody because they saved it goes. And then all of a sudden, after Mandalorian comes out, all these projects that were on hold are back on. They're back on. Oh yeah, we got 8 Star Wars series coming out now. Those were all on hold. Every one of them were basically canceled. The Obi-Wan series was gone, all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, Mandalorian, it's all gold again. So people sometimes just give the people what they want, and relating this to D&D and games and stuff, it's kind of the same way with that. I mean, a lot of people make fun of
some red meat every once in a while.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the OSR gets hammered a lot because it's like, oh, you're a bunch of old grognards trying to make everybody play the way they used to play in the old days. But, sometimes that's fun. Sometimes I don't want to bring a bunch of, brand new world politics into my game with, all the stuff that WotC's doing. Sometimes I just want my orcs to be evil. I don't care why they're evil. They just are. They were born evil. They're born bad. I mean, I don't know why they were, work that into your world's mythos. They're born evil because they're a sign of original sin. They were tainted at birth by an alien meteorite. I don't know why, but you don't have to sit there and go, no, orcs really aren't evil sometimes. Sometimes they're the good guys, sometimes you just want evil orcs. Sometimes you just want, a dungeon that a wheelchair can't get into, and I don't have anything against that. If you want wheelchairs in your dungeon, go for it. You can have wheelchairs in every dungeon. I don't care because it's not my game. If that's your game, I don't get as strident as some fans that go on the internet and just flip out because, oh my God, they changed something. It's not your game. Don't worry about it. Play your game.
Do your thing, man. That's what our whole Catpocalypse deal is about.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of goofballs. We're a crazy cat family, so why not do some OSR stuff that has to do with cats?
Well, in case you imagine somebody complaining because this weird art dude, he did this cat D&D game. That's just bullshit because cats don't belong in game. I mean, he's a furry. What's wrong with that? Yeah,
Furry's for 4th edition. You wrote this for the wrong edition.
Don't play Catpocalypse. Then go play something else. You don't have to play Catpocalypse. But if you want to, it's fun.
Who's interested in it? Furries or not, man?
I can say some things about furries I won't get into, but hey, if they don't bother me, I don't. If I'm staying at a hotel and there's a furry convention, I might be a little worried, but I just won't stay at hotels with furry conventions, and I'm fine.
Getting the scrum, bro.
No, I won't even get into it because Ainsley's here, but I have friends that have been to furry conventions. Let's just put it that way. We'll talk about this some other show. We'll talk about this other shows.
Not safe for work.
Not safe for. I don't even know if Casey can listen to it. He might not be too young to listen to this stuff that goes on at furry cons. It's bad. It's bad stuff. It's everything you imagine plus worse.
Oh, jeez.
Deep dives, if you will.
Yeah, it's bad stuff. Yeah, really bad. But if that's what you want to roll, go roll that way. By the way, Dallas has one of the largest
against furries.
Dallas has one of the largest furry conventions in the United States, so that's why I know of this. No, I have not been. This is a friend of mine. And when I say friend, I don't mean friend. I mean friend, not me. Not me, folks.
From a friend. But no,
Not dressing up like a squirrel. No, it's not happening to me.
Oh, because if you look like a squirrel, then it's going to come after you, right?
Oh, I shouldn't have said that. That was too specific.
Yeah, squirrel.
Oh, you got me now.
Yeah. And I've already seen James topless, so I don't really want to see. Yeah, I don't want to see. It's not like it's one of those sites that once seen can't be unseen. And I'm sure Frank and Merle enjoyed the view they got too. So full disclosure, I know a guy that works at the hotel where they had the furry con. That's all I'm going to say. So if you want to hear stories at some later date off air, I will share them with you, but not on air because it's bad. Tenkars after dark.
Tenkar after dark.
Yeah.
Put the kids to bed. We're going to hear some furry cons.
Maybe its own YouTube live stream. Mike tells bedtime stories.
Oh, of course. I also had a friend that worked ACOM, which is one of the largest anime conventions in the United States, and that's in Dallas. And he told some pretty bad stories too, which not quite as bad as FurryCon, but when they first started, they actually had to make a rule about the 4th or 5th convention that you are not allowed. This is a rule. I think they still have it in the ACON bylaws. You are not allowed to attend the con and spend the night without a hotel room. And that's because the first few cons, people would actually prostitute themselves for hotel rooms because they would have no rooms available. They would go to AreaCon. They would wait in the hallways. They would just be lined up in the hallway, sitting down, and you go, you and you. And they would go to the room with you, and they got a free night at the hotel. And whatever happened behind closed doors is... And it got out of hand. So let's say it just got out of hand. So
a lot of conventions can get out of hand. Like,
well, yeah.
For a couple years or like many years after. I've seen some weird stuff at a few conventions.
Whoa! At North Texas? No, we're family.
No. I'm talking like anime conventions.
Oh, anime, yeah, anime. They get a little. Anime conventions do get a little wild, don't they, Ains? I
mean, I wouldn't say like wild like that because I never stay after like 9 p.m.
I think a lot of it's because the costume aspect. It allows people to lose their inhibitions and like, hey, I'm not me. I'm this character, and I think
still, if like someone is cosplaying a character, others will see them and be like, that's not a person. That's my favorite character. I'm going to talk to them like my favorite character.
Yep.
And that kind of sidesteps the whole, like respecting boundaries thing and everything.
I have a friend whose daughter is very much in anime. She makes some really amazing costumes, and her and her best friend love to go to anime cons. But the last few times she went, now she hasn't been since COVID. Her dad and I went with them because he doesn't want her to go by herself because she's had that issue where people don't have boundaries, because she'll dress up like a character, like, oh, you must be that character. No. I'm just dressing up like that character. I'm not that character. So,
it's weird when someone comes up to you and you're like in a costume from like a really popular anime and they're like, character name, your best girl. And you're just like, thanks, I'm 15, leave me alone.
Because this guy's daughter, now she's aged now, but when she first started attending anime cons was underage, and she got some pretty risque proposition because a lot of people just want to post her picture. They're perfectly normal, like, hey, can I get a picture with you? No problem. And then you always got the weirdo. Then the weirdo is always the guy who's about 30, and everybody else there is really young, and this guy's the 30 or 40, and he's just a little dude.
There's a subtext to the subculture with manga and anime anyways, just from where it comes from.
Yeah.
That I like how Bruce said that North Texas is a family-oriented convention. 100% true. I would back that 100%. We've been bringing her since she was a little girl. I've never felt unsafe at North Texas.
A lot of the time, I was able to just wander
around and felt completely fine because everybody knew who she was and keep their hands to themselves. But not that there'd be that problem anyway.
Yeah, no.
But the anime and manga thing, as an artist, as a historian of art and all that stuff, and having kids at her age and younger that I've been teaching for the last 24 years or 22 years, that read a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of bad male actors in a lot of those comics that they get their hands on, and there's a lot of coveting of very young girls that goes on in those books.
I got you.
Comes out of Japan. I'm not trying to be culturalist or bash it in any way.
No, you're being realistic. I think that's
right.
You're not saying anything that people don't know. Yeah, that is kind of the history of the whole thing. Yeah.
It kind of one of the reasons why that has become a lot more. Well, it's kind of been a thing, like an underarching thing for a long time. But the reason why it's become such like a kind of focal point recently is because of the introduction of streaming services. See, animes are like practically free on like Netflix, Hulu, Crunchyroll, all those places. So
they're free to kids.
No, that's not what I mean.
Whose parents are paying the subscriptions.
Yeah, well,
all right, yeah, but
these studios and these like creators of like the animes and the mangas, they don't get money from like actually people buying DVDs and like paying to watch the show. they end up getting all their money from figurine sales. So recently, there's been a shift in story development where creators will put in more cute girls.
They put the sexy girls in to sell the sexy girls.
Ah, gotcha.
To sell the figurines.
Yeah.
So I would you rather have like a I don't know, like certain weird character on your shelf or a really sexy girl
Sure.
with like underwear lines? I don't know.
I want
Makes sense, yeah.
really blobbed out Akira.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want the
Yeah.
Akira that's blown out to look like Jublex, you know?
No, but you're right. Yeah, that is a product of the audience. It's like I was seeing, you know, it's like streamers. You know, you streamers are huge now, especially with all the COVID stuff. And then there's this whole, you know, for anybody that plays online games, there's a lot of misogynistic overtones to playing online games because it's traditionally seen as a man's, you know, arena, you know, and so women that get on there are usually sometimes get treated bad because they're like, oh, you're a girl, you can't play, man, you don't know what you're doing, and there's a lot of comments directed toward them. But conversely, there's also a very sexualized element to streaming, along the lines of, if I'm running a stream and I'm an old fat 50-year-old white guy, and Ains is running a stream, and Ains is a very cute, bubbly, sweet 18-year-old, she's going to get more viewers than me, everything else being equal. Because
and it doesn't even matter our like gaming level abilities, because I'm bad at video games.
It wouldn't matter. I've seen streamers that are I have a friend, she streams, she's terrible, and she looks cute as a bug, and she gets tons of people. So there is a sexualized thing in there that if you're cute, you're going to do better. I mean, and a lot of girls play that down. I've seen some of the streamers, they'll wear like hoodies and stuff. They don't play up the fact that, you know, they're an attractive girl, but then there's some play it up, absolutely play it up, you know, where they, to the point where they're wearing skimpy clothes and, you know, and just the way they act on there, but some don't. So that's a real issue in gaming circles is that, you know, how much is too much. I mean, you know, definitely it's like that thing like, oh, well, that girl was asking for it because she was wearing that miniskirt. Well, no, she was not asking for it, you know. So even if a girl dresses, you know, provocatively, that gives you no excuse to, you know, harass a girl online or stalk her. But it is a component. It's a component of streaming. And the same thing with, you know, with manga and, you know, video stuff like that. And actually, I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised we don't see it more in the gaming, D&D, RPG stuff. It's still, you know, Eric and I talk about this all the time. I mean, no matter how diverse D&D and gaming stores have gotten, it's still a man's world out there. It really is. I mean, I mean, look at the statistics for just Eric's podcasts and blog. It's what, 90% male or 95% or...
blog is 90%, podcast is like 93%, and the YouTube / live streams are 75%. And I think that it has a lot to do with the age of people coming into the hobby and their preferred medium of interacting with a podcast or a live stream. But still, it's not 50-50.
Well, I mean, make no mistake, there's more women and more POC and more minorities in gaming than ever has been. But it's still not 50% yet. And I see stats from WotC, and I always see WotC say something, and I don't see the actual stats. You know what I'm saying? They'll say like, oh, you know, by our latest poll, you know, we've had a 65% rise in female gamers. Well, show me the numbers. I mean, what does that even mean? Does that mean it went from 40 to 80? I mean, I don't know. Show me numbers and show me exactly where these things are getting better. I realize more women than ever before are playing the game. But I don't know if it's as many as they're actually telling me it is. I just don't know until I see the stats. I don't know if it is or not.
Well, Mike, that's nothing. Before I started doing this as my hobby, one of the things I did as a cop was I did statistics. I did crime stats. And there's a lot of ways to take the same numbers and tell different stories. And if you want to show, all right, well, yeah, last year to this year, we had an increase of homicides of 100%. Oh, my God. What was the increase from 1 to 2? right? Now going from 50 to 100,
100% increase.
That's
Wow.
a huge increase. 50 to 100, but from 1 to 2 is statistically. So saying, whoa, we saw a 60% increase in people of color playing Dungeons and Dragons. What is the base number you're going from? If you're not giving me a base number, I can pretty much tell you it's small. And you don't want to reveal that number because of the size of it. It has nothing to do with people in color or women in gaming. It has to do with the honesty of the statistics. If you're only giving a percent increase, you're not giving number from going from point A to point B, you are dealing with numbers that are statistically insignificant or damn near so.
Well, I mean, there's no question. There's more women than ever are playing the game because I go to conventions now and I see tons of women. And I used to go to conventions in the 80s and maybe even 1 or 2 in the late 70s, and it was like, it's the same thing with engineering. I mean, when I was younger, first started college, you could go into a beginning engineer class and there'd be 300 people there and there'd be 3 women. And nowadays, you go in an engineering class, it's half women, if not more. I mean, my wife's graduating class engineer, she graduated, I think, 2000, and it was almost all women. And so it's totally changed now. But you can see the numbers. And the same thing with gaming conventions now. I go in there now, and I see so many diverse faces that I never saw before. But having said that, I mean, I still don't know what the numbers are. I'd love to see the numbers. I really would.
That's too bad, really, David, that you only had one female gamer after college in your game. Last game we had
like 5.
We had about 9 rotating players, and 4 out of the 5 regular, 4 or 5 regulars were females. And I have a great time playing with girls.
I wish we had more women because I've said this for years and years, and I will stand by it. The best role players I've ever had have all been women. The ones that really got into the game, because I think a lot of guys just kind of like, they play it, but they're more in their role dice role play. Most women that I know that play are into the role play. They actually want to play their characters, and I've had some of the best interactions I've ever had with players have been female characters because they really want to role play their character, where the guys they're just like, look, I just want to kill some orcs, give me the dice, and just put those orcs out there, and I'm going to knock them down. Whereas the women are like, whoa, what's my motivation here? You're like, oh, okay, cool. So I actually wants to play the game. Nice.
Yeah. I think by the end of City of Brass, I had managed to play my character into leading like all of the people, pretty much. I had made this whole campaign.
The people is a cult of one of the Dukes of Hell.
Yeah. So we kill one of these Dukes of Hell, and I'm like, well,
you killed it. You killed his wizard. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Anyways, I killed the dude that's in charge of this certain whatever thing, and I'm like, well, he's gone. Me, I'm the next leader. I killed him.
She critted with this sort of 9 lives stealing.
Nice.
And he failed his saving throw, and she drained the dude's soul, just like Elric would. So so she took his personality and his cult.
Yeah. And I had like one of my pet rocks pretty much do a whole like almost presidential campaign to just get the rest of the people on board with me. And I had like a 95% approval rating by the end, like by the time we finished the game. So I was like, I am the leader.
Thanks, Bruce. That's a kind thing to say. I put a lot of years of my life into that product, so I'm glad it hit the right notes for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, I revisited that the other day. As a matter of fact, Casey, I was flipping through my copy going, I never really read this all the way through. And so I sat it by the throne, and I managed to go through a big chunk of it. I'm like, wow, this is really good stuff. This is a lot better than I remember because I never really read it all the way through. But yes, it's very, very, very good.
Appreciate that. Put a lot into that, and Bard's Gate put a lot of stuff into those products right there, and it was a good time. I was very grateful to be able to go back and work on it again because there were parts that I felt were missing from it the first time, but we had a deadline and we had White Wolf kind of breathing down our throat to get it turned in. So the box set came out, the way it came out, and then we released it, and it was I was still proud of that product. And Watsy announced 4th edition that very day. So as you can tell, my sales kind of went, yeah. So
Yeah.
Damn. Well, I think we're about to hit the 2-hour mark. Holy shit.
Yeah, well, we do that. We usually hit the 2-hour mark, so no biggie. No biggie.
It's like I actually had a job today that I actually enjoyed because I've been doing live streams, I guess, for damn near 3.5 hours today.
It's hex crawl, man. You just crawl into you don't know what you're gonna run into when you hex crawl.
No, you don't. And we covered ground that I never expected us to be covering. Anime.
Mike's
Star-
secret tales of furries that if you get me drunk at next anti-RPG con, I will tell you some stories. So,
well, you know what? I'm afraid of your stories, but
you should be. It's disturbing. So,
yes. We already have a sponsor for North Texas RPG cons. Drinking with
we do.
Mike and Eric. Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
hopefully better than the stuff I drank at Christmas time. That was awful.
Right. So I'm gonna pace myself leading up to it, so I can have a day of debauchery, and oh God help us, and maybe we'll live stream it. Wouldn't that be even better? And Casey, you're too young. You can't be part of this stuff. You got to be at least 50 to be part of the debauchery crowd.
I think Casey is 50 now.
Oh, fuck.
You want me to go get the cards?
To pretext this, I usually make my parents like
Really
personal
awesome.
birthday cards, and I accidentally, because I may be dyslexic, I have no clue. I accidentally wrote 49 as 4P. So now it's become a running joke because I can't live anything down. So he's going to go do it. But yeah, so my dad, he turned 49, but we call it 4P. And then 2 months later, I intentionally screwed up the 49 for my mom so that she could also be 4P. And I think he's got it now.
When did Casey turn 4P?
He turned 4P in November, so this is his DeLorean one.
Oh,
4P
nice.
Right off
He'll be underage. You'll still be underage, Casey.
You'll be underage by a year, Daddy. Yeah.
Oh, hold up. Yep, you're figuring.
You'll be 5 months underage. Nice. Sorry, we love you, Case, but you can't participate in the debauchery of Four Locos or whatever the fuck the Fruit Loop hard liquor that we had and the other.
Man, St. Ides.
No. We're not going that high.
It's like that grape St. Ides, man.
No. We hit the barrel of the bottom of the barrel, and. We were actually dragging people into it randomly, like Ben Burns. It's like, come on. He's like, what the hell am I drinking? He's like, that was awful. I'm like, we're just doing it for the reactions, man. We're just doing it for the reactions, and that was legit. Oh my God, folks! Thanks to Casey, thanks to his better part. Casey, thank you, better half. That would be your wife.
The part of him that came out better. Yeah.
Yes, like the offspring that improved on the parent.
How did he come up with such a cool daughter? I don't get it.
Let's see here. I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
We don't know
all the
either.
fantastic people we've exposed her to since she was a little kid, I think, is why she turned out.
We don't want to know about who got exposed to who. And we've already heard enough about furries and these conventions. I can only imagine. Yeah, we apologize for any. Thank God, it was pointed out. North Texas is a family-oriented convention.
Yes,
except after midnight, and then Mike turns into the devil. We have late night drinking sessions of liquor that should never be touched. Oh my God! Jesus Christ, folks! It was great to have the two of you.
Yeah. My real better half is better than me too.
Well, listen, my better half is better than me too. So I mean, that Mike will tell you that. He's just like,
Sure.
we only bring you back every year because we get Rachel. As
Yeah,
part
we
of
get
the deal.
Rachel.
I understand that, but again, thanks to all the listeners. You guys have been really extremely great during this month of live streams. It's the support's been great. If you're listening to this, you want to support the channel, like, comment, and most importantly, subscribe. We've been picking up subscribers. It really helps again. Besides the live streams that I'll be doing the rest of this week, Mike and I are back next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We will have some special guests. Friday is going to be the day I expect a lot of comments because it's going to be 4 fucktards, myself, Mike, Glenn,
Golly, really?
Glenn and Joe,
that bad?
Glenn and Joe the lawyer. Mike is going to be in charge of herding the cats. I'm going to be in charge of keeping an eye on your comments. And
that's next week.
Be a bless. That's next Friday.
By the way, so next week, some of our guests, Jim Wampler, Alan Hammock, who else? We got perhaps Frog Goddish,
yes,
Matt Finchish, or
Jack
Glazerish. I haven't asked them yet, but I'm sure they will.
We'll get one or maybe even both.
Yeah, you never know.
Never
know.
You never know. You just never know. We bring back Skeeter, but I don't think the internet can handle him quite.
Oh, not twice in 1 year.
Oh no, twice. It'd be twice in one season is pushing it. Twice in a year we could probably do. Folks, as I tell you pretty much every day, we're in the midst of the world of COVID, so please use your common sense. Your character wouldn't throw a fireball into a 10 by 10 room and kill the party outside the room. Bullshit. Yes, you would. You've done it. All right. So I'm asking you, use your common sense that you claim that you have to keep yourself, your loved ones, your family, your friends healthy and safe. Be safe, be well. God bless for all those dice. And I'll be back. As the comedians say, I'll be back here every day.
I'll be here all week.
I don't even sleep. God damn it! I'll be doing Australian live streams in the middle of the night, maybe. Who knows? All right, folks.
Like I told you before, when I talked to you a couple weeks, about a month ago, when we were just coming off of having COVID, I'd listen to your podcast, and it was good to hear your voice. And we do miss you guys a ton. We really do.
You have no this doing these live streams. I'll be honest with you, it is the closest thing I've had to going to a convention since last year's TotalCon. And not knocking TotalCon, I came down with my first case of. I'm not going to blame it on the con, but con crud, my viral infection, was turned into pneumonia, and turned a year into a scary year. But I'm better for it. And as I've been told by people who've been doing these, watching me like, holy shit, dude, you lost weight. Well, yeah, obviously now you're actually looking at the live streams that me and Mike have had up. Glad you're watching this week. So 2020 could have been a lot shittier than it was. So hopefully 2021 is a lot better than it started out, because it's still kind of crappy. All right, folks. On that note, we're out of here.